One of the things that's really unique to mobile devices is that we had to think about the battery consumption. It's a big issue as opposed to a desktop computer or often a laptop computer. You normally want to conserve the battery consumption, also the remaining battery, charged battery as well. And so power management is very important, and that's one of the things I learned how to do. So for example, right now, as of right now, it is just keep going, like, as long as the app is running, it never goes dim, or it doesn't go to sleep. After a certain time, it just keeps running on the front and keeps consuming the battery at a full capacity, and that's not a good practice. So how do you put what you call a wake lock? That's what I learned. It's pretty simple. There's only like two things or three things you need to know. So here's what it is. Again, I didn't really have to program anything because it's part of the library, SDK library. So I used the Power Manager class. It's a class of a bunch of methods and functions. So I called in the Power Manager class, and of course I have to import it here. Okay, right here. See, it is imported. Power Manager class is already imported, so I can use it. Use the function. For example, this one, I get system service and the value. So I called in the Power Manager, and I set up the variable here PM to represent the Power Manager instance, and I'm assigning the value through this. I didn't exactly get what this was, but I would just have to follow the syntax and get system service and again, this is part of the class. I'm using a context class, and see, this is what it is. And within a context class, there's an elements or attributes called power service. So I'm calling this a feature through context class. So in this way, power service, PM now represents a power service. This, I'm setting a wake lock here. I'm setting up the variable here, wake lock, and again, this is a class, and it's a wake lock class variable, and I'm using WL. Okay, so now I'm trying to give them an actual instance. So it's a Power Manager, part of the Power Manager, plus it's a wake lock. So wake lock is part of the extension or part of the Power Manager, and how to access Power Manager, wake lock, is through the Power Manager class again, and it's called full wake lock, and it's gonna be called whatever. Okay, so to set the wake lock, you have to use a new wake lock method. Then whatever is in here, okay, creates a new wake lock with the specified level and flags. So it's a specified level is a full wake lock. So it's a full wake lock. So it's gonna be awaken 100%. And there are different levels. I can't remember what other options were there. Maybe half wake lock. I don't know. I can't remember. But there are different levels, and let's see. Well, here it is. There's a partial wake lock as opposed to full wake lock, so there are differences, and I chose full wake lock. So I'm setting up the full wake lock instance here, and whenever I call that's what's going to happen. And again, I created activity or instance object here, but now the question is, I need to make it happen, and it's under onCreate. Okay, so onCreate, when onCreate of the activity or instance of activity or state, when the screen or activity screen opens, this happens. So this is also a predefined method, acquire. So it's going to acquire WL, and WL is a wake lock. So when the program begins, activity begins, it's going to acquire a wake lock. It's going to be fully awakened, and it's going to bring in the view called it's a different class I set up. So it's a different activity, whole set of activities. It's going to be called into the screen, and I can just forget about that for now, because it's about the wake lock. So wake lock begins here, so it's going to be fully awake, but we need to make it go to half sleep, when there's no activity, which means when it is paused. So I have to call in on pause method. So that's what it is. And under on pause, I have to pause it. I have to release the wake lock by this predefined method called release. So upon pausing, wake lock is going to be released. So that's what it is. And also, when the activity begins again, wake lock is again acquired. So I could have added below this or in between. Actually, below this would be better. I could have set up the what we call on resume. And on resume is probably part of it's part of the predefined method. I can import sources. Okay, so if I go to override implement methods, on resume is also here available. PR on resume. So if I set this up, import it, then I can put the acquire, wake lock acquire in the method block again. And so that's something I could have done. So I think that's pretty useful. I think I should implement this method to every single app I'll be developing. So this set of code is a keeper.